Okay, ready?
Yes.
You do the intro again.
Okay. Welcome everyone to the 2020 coronavirus Itrad fantasy football season. It starts today at 8:20 where the Chiefs take on the Texans. Now we had a very, what feels like a century ago when the Chiefs and the 49ers played each other in the Super Bowl. Long time waiting for football, and now it's back.
It's currently 6:40. Game starts in a little less than 2 hours. Chiefs, Texans. We got some, let's just get into it. We had some technical difficulties. So this is our second take. We talked for about 25 minutes without anything actually recording. So let's get into it. First, we're going to get into our power rankings. Very controversial segment in our league. Eddie released his power rankings about 2 days ago. So after we're done with ours, we'll compare them to his. But let's get right into it. So first we have number 9 because we're not ranking ourselves in these. I have the homosexuals, Simon Gow, currently with what I think is the worst team in the league. At quarterback, we have Russell Wilson. Wilson, always a solid QB to have in fantasy. I think he was responsible for about 97% of Seattle's points either last year or the year before that. Still a continuing trend. I think he was also responsible for about 80% of their total offensive yards. So that offense has been running through him, will run through him for a while now. Nick Chubb as his RB1. Chubb selected in the first round with the 8th pick, which I think was a pick he made so he could get Julian pissed off, take Chubb so he'll be under his arms for the rest of the season, not entertain his trading talks. Julian also tried to play everyone in the draft saying he didn't want Chubb, saying Chubb was sharing a backfield with Hunt, he wasn't going to get carries, whatever. Julian told me he was lying, trying to fool people. Everyone knew he was not fooling anyone. We all knew he wanted Chubb. Julian, your plan failed, and in result, actually backfired on you because now Simon took Chubb, who's probably not going to give him to you.
Also, another thing, Julian has Josh Gordon, who is suspended and just re-signed. So, I don't know. That's Brown bias right there.
At RB2, Simon has Ronald Jones. Jones was picked before the Fournette signing. Regardless, I did not see that much upside for Jones in a pretty stacked offense. Really not someone I see getting a lot of carries, only projected 10 points. Starting off playing the New Orleans defense, pretty good defense. Jones, I don't see it there at his RB2. At his wide receiver 1, Julio had a bit of a problem last year finding the end zone. The yards were there, the catches were there. Went 10 straight weeks without a touchdown last season. Now, he had 4 throughout the first 3 weeks, 2 within the last 2 weeks of the season. But between week 4 and 14, 0 touchdowns. I just find that as a problem, really, to have as your wide receiver 1. Everyone knows Julio is top 3, if not the best wide receiver in the league, skill-wise. But on the fantasy spectrum, just doesn't translate too well. Someone who doesn't score that often. At wide receiver 2, we have Odell, who likes to get his chest shit on Beckham. Odell coming off a bad season. How many yards did he have?
He had 1,000 yards.
He had 1,000 yards. Not a horrible season. I take that back.
How many touchdowns? 2?
4 touchdowns. 74 catches, 1,000 yards. That is a good season. But we're looking at it from a fantasy standpoint. Going through some of his games, week 1, 14 points, 3, 11, 4 points, 5 points, 10 points, 10 points, 10 points, 5 points, 6 points. Really a lot of low-scoring games, not a lot of upside. I've seen him this year unless he shows us the Odell Beckham Jr. that was that first 4 years to the Giants. Simon's team is kind of full of question marks. You have a solid tight end in Mark Andrews. You know he's going to get the ball, one of Lamar Jackson's favorites. Marquise Brown, who put on 25 pounds of muscle in the offseason. I think he's a viable flex option. He's got Broncos D and Will Lutz. Note, Simon's running backs not looking too well depth chart wise. Only has one backup in Tevin Coleman. So his running back looking kind of sus out here. But he also is the homosexual. So I think that says enough.
Suitable.
Who do you have in your number 9?
At my number 9, I have Kevin, which I think also took a running back heavy approach, picking Derrick Henry, who had a great year last year, and the newly sought after running back Miles Sanders, which I think also had some Eagles bias behind it. But we'll start off with Carson Wentz, which is going to be playing behind a very weak offensive line. Isn't there like 3 other starters are injured?
Yeah, I think, who was it? Can't remember who was injured.
Brooks was injured.
Brooks.
He got injured the entire year before the season even started. But there was rumors of like Doug Peterson was saying like tackles was playing guards and guards was playing tackles.
That actually got resolved. I think a couple days ago.
He shot for that.
Tackle.
But yeah, Carson Wentz, he can never make it to the postseason. Miles Sanders. I have Kenny Golladay, which I really don't see the hype behind Kenny Golladay.
I really don't either, honestly.
Like I feel like he's just hyped up because in the preseason, I remember last year, he was killing everyone, which he is a good receiver, but fantasy, that doesn't matter.
I mean, 1,200 yards, 11 touchdowns, 65 catches is solid, but I just don't know if I personally can't put Kenny Golladay as my number 1.
He was actually picked before Adam Thielen.
And D-Hop, I think, right?
Yeah, which, I don't know, that might have been just a ranking, like an ESPN rank pick right there. But then he has Darren Waller and Melvin Gordon as his flex, which I think Melvin Gordon might honestly fall off.
This is what worries me. This is what worries me about Kenny Golladay, looking at his games last year. Very touchdown dependent. He didn't have a game more than 8 catches. He had 1 8-catch game, 4 catch, 2 catches, 5, 5, 1, 6, 4, 3, 1, 4, 4, 6, 3, 6, 3. All of his games where he scored a lot of points, his 30-point performance was off 6 catches, 123 yards, 2 touchdowns. He's just a receiver where it's like if his deep game isn't there, he's not going to really get you a lot of points. Chicago, Week 13, 4 catches, 160 yards, and a touchdown. That's just really something where you see like a Week 15 against the worst secondary in the league in Tampa Bay. 3 catches, 44 yards, no touchdowns. Just kind of inconsistent. Minnesota, 1 catch, 21 yards. Kind of just that receiver who's just that deep threat, and if it's not there, then you're out of luck.
That is all the Lions receivers, but
it's true.
I don't know. Who knows with Matt Stafford again? And then, Darren Waller and Melvin Gordon, which Melvin Gordon going to a new team with Philip Lindsay and Levante Bellamy, let's not forget about him, joining the team. And Royce Freeman, too, I think. All of that running back field, I don't know if I like it, but the thing I do like about his team is that he has Stephon Diggs that is now on the Buffalo Bills, which I feel like is very underrated this year. I don't know why, but I don't know why he fell down that much. I feel like Stephon Diggs was like maybe a top 10 receiver last year. And now he has Josh Allen, who has a big arm, and AJ Green. If he is the old AJ Green, and if Stephon Diggs pans out, then he might have a really good team. But his running backs scare me, though. I don't know if Titans are gonna figure out about Derrick Henry and that Tannehill can barely throw or what. But I do think he has the worst team this year.
Now,
out of the 9.
I have Kevin ranked at 8, so I'm just going to continue off this talk while we're talking about his team. Kevin's at my number 8. Melvin Gordon, sus flex. Like we just said, new team. Last year, Gordon held out and didn't really show much when he came back. 600 yards, 8 touchdowns. Not horrible. He also had, when you look at his games where he scored a lot, and you look at the carries he had, 22 carries, 20 carries, 16, 20, which I just feel like with Lindsey, in the backfield is just not going to be the same. His workload this year.
This is confusing on why he's even there like that. It really doesn't fit him at all. He's just going to be another running back in the system.
Carson Wentz. We all know Wentz can ball. Can he stay healthy? That's the question. Wentz, made out of this kind of material right behind us. Always injured. Saints D, I think it's a good defense to have. Boswell at kicker, gives a fuck about a kicker. Darren Waller, looking if he could have another explosive year like he did last year. Waller, another one who very kind of iffy just because he doesn't really get those touchdowns. Didn't score throughout the first 5 weeks. Did not score between week 9 and 17. Only scored in 2 games last year, but was, banging out those PPR points. He had 134 yards in week 3 against Minnesota. Waller has upside, so we'll see what happens this year with him.
Following up with Kevin's team that I just thought about, that entire Eagles team is very...
Wait, Dad, you have to come say what you said again.
Why? What happened?
Because we didn't get it on recording before.
He's coming.
Now it's recording. So tell him again who your sleeper is this year.
Okay. Antonio Gibson from Washington football team is my sleeper pick. Also, be aware, Hunter Renfrow will have a great 1,000-yard receiving year.
1,000 yards.
1,000 yards. Derek Carr. The Raiders did nothing but update their offense with 2 receivers, and they brought back not only a great tight end in
Waller?
No, not Waller. The guy from the Cowboys.
Jeff Swain?
Witten.
Oh, he's
Hall of Fame
fossil.
tight end. Yeah, he's a fossil, but he's also a distraction for Enzo. So Derek Carr should throw at least 32 touchdowns this year. I have him on my team. You should get him on your team.
In our league, he's probably a waiver.
yeah, I think he is a waiver QB.
You could pick him up for free.
Who knows? In December, we might be looking back.
Yeah, really.
But
Anyway, back to the real world.
To Kevin's team, I was thinking, since the Eagles are made out of glass, maybe Wentz will be under attack, and maybe he'll be thrown to his running back, Miles Sanders.
That is true. Miles Sanders, don't get me wrong, had a great rookie year. But
Also overlooked by Barkley at Penn State, too. But
800 yards, 3 touchdowns on the ground. Okay. Receiving, he had 3 touchdowns. I'm not going to count up all those yards. But I think he was over 1,200, definitely over 1,200 all-purpose yards. Just only thing about Sanders, I just don't. If I'm wrong about this, I'm wrong, okay, Kevin? But right now, I just don't see it in him.
I have faith, but I don't know about right now.
Moving on to your number 8.
Number 8, I have the Cardiac Kids in Julian, which also we'll get to later. I think is going to have a heavy fall off. He has his running backs are supposed to be good this year by ESPN standards, I think. But Josh Jacobs and Austin Eckler. Now, I think that's really sus. Two running backs.
Picks.
That was back-to-back picks too.
It was back-to-back picks.
And he has Kareem Hunt, another Browns player. But I mean, his running back after that, Chase Edmonds and J.K. Dobbins on his bench. I feel like he's probably the weakest running back core, even weaker than Kevin's. And he has A.J. Brown, Deontay Johnson, which you like. And his flex, like I said, is Kareem Hunt with an Evan Ingram tight end with Kyler Murray at quarterback. I don't know if I like this team at all. Might have to rethink. This might be worse than Kevin's, to be honest. But I do like his team because he does have Cortland Sutton, who just got moved down to the bench probably.
Yeah, Cortland Sutton got injured.
Because he's injured. He has Scary Terry McLaurin, and he has D-Jax. Oh, and for some reason he's starting... Oh, because they're facing Baltimore. But he also has Austin Hooper on his bench, who was picked in the 13th round. That's why he's better than Kevin's team. That's why I remember now. I like his team. I just like his bench players better. I think they're just benched right now because they're either injured or they're just the matchup isn't right for this week.
Going off that, number 7 for me, I have Julian. Kyler Murray. I think he was like the number 4. I think he was number 4 ranked QB, 4 or 5. I think it was Mahomes, Lamar, either Russell or Watson, and then Murray. Murray, first pick of the draft, had a good second half of the year. Rookie of the year, some say undeserving. I can see why. I just don't know if I see it yet. Still a garbage O-line there in Arizona. As my SFL folks know. That, I would know that myself. Anyway, that O-line still needs work. You got D-Hop. Kenyon Drake, Dolphins fan. He's good, but I don't know if I see him as an RB1 right now. So, we will see how Kyler Murray's season pans out. I'm just not a big fan of him. As we said, Jacobs and Eckler. And now, don't get me wrong, not bad running backs to have. It's just that back-to-back right there. I don't know how I feel about that. A.J. Brown, who I like, who could have been Rookie of the Year last year. Hunt at flex, we basically already went over his team, so let's go on to your number 7.
My number 7, I have, honestly, my number 7 and 6 were, I would say, about the same, but I'll just go 7, Diego here. Now, Diego's team is probably, I think he might have a dark horse team. He has Lamar, obviously reigning MVP, Alvin Kamara, which I think is borderline probably one of the best running backs. No, if the best running back in fantasy. Aaron Jones, an underrated running back. I know Ed's probably hating on this right now, but Aaron Jones is really, really, really good. It's just he has on and off weeks a lot. DJ Moore, I don't know if I really like DJ Moore. He was picked early, I think, too. He was picked 35, DJ Moore.
Wow.
And
4th round pick.
he doesn't have that good of wide receivers. He has Robert Woods, but he has to share it with Cooper Kupp. Tyler Boyd, probably the number 1 receiver in Cincinnati for Joe Burrow. And Jared Cook, which he could have a lot of upside, honestly, but I don't know. His team is good, and it has potential to be really good if Aaron Jones works out and DJ Moore works out.
Moving on to my number 6, I have Yerba Mate. Team redemption, I guess, no longer a thing, being retired. Kenny, if you're watching this right now, please go in the comment section and explain to us what Yerba Mate is, because I have no idea. Is it some type of accent? Yerba Mate? Like maybe something to do with Kevin Parker being Australian?
Probably something he says.
Anyway, Yerba Mate at my number 6. We have Deshaun Watson. Watson losing his number 1 receiver. So, what is it?
Yerba Mate is like a plant, but I think it's like a drink, too.
Also a drink. Yerba Mate is a drink or a plant.
Weird.
Can be both. Not sure the significance of it. Again, Kenny, if you're watching this, comments, please let us know. Deshaun Watson, who just lost his number 1 receiver. So I'm not sure how that's going to pan out for him. Last year, not in this league, but in another league, I reached on Watson and I regretted it. So I will never pick him again. But at number 1 for running back, we have Dalvin Cook, who had a monster year last year. Coming off an injury, lit the world on fire, solidified himself as a top 5 fantasy back. Good pick there. Joe Mixon, who I also like. That's a good RB tandem right there. I like his RB duo. Joe Mixon coming fresh off of an extended 4-year deal. They're going to feed him the ball. Rookie quarterback. Not really a lot of good wide receivers there. A.J. Green is a fossil. I think they're going to feed Mixon. Mari Cooper, Juju Smith. 2 receivers who it's a hit or miss. Everyone knows the Amari Cooper story. 1 point 1 week, 50 the next week. You never know. Juju Smith, after losing Antonio Brown, didn't really have that good of a year. Did he get injured? I don't remember. I think he was injured a little bit, but he sucked when he was there. We have Tyler Lockett at the flex and Tyler Higbee at tight end. Higbee, I don't know what's going to happen with Higbee. Eddie thinks he's going to go off this year because there's always that one player on Kenny's team that nobody expects to go off. We have Tyler Lockett, solid flex, Colts defense, and Robbie Gould. Bench, not too crazy about his bench. Tariq Cohen, Marlon Mack, Ebron, Shepard. Move on to your number 6.
My number 6 is actually this guy right here, which it might be a surprise to most because Eddie had you at number 3, and I don't know where you would see yourself at. But the reasoning is that this is where, like, it might seem bad right now, but it's honestly not bad because from this point on, it's playoffs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All these teams that I'm about to say from here point out are good teams. But I mean, yeah. So your first pick, Zeke. I love that pick, Zeke. Drew Brees is Drew Brees. You know, he's always going to light the world on fire. And also this year, I think the Saints might go to the Super Bowl. I don't know about you. They have a Super Bowl ready team.
Ty.
If they want to compete, then Drew Brees will go off. Tyler's coming.
Go on.
Second running back too.
Tell him who your fantasy sleeper of the year is.
CeeDee Lamb.
CeeDee Lamb. Interesting.
He's on my bench.
Tyler, not a man of many words, but he showed us who his sleeper is. Go on with.
Now, this is another pick. Devin Singletary. I think you have Devin Singletary in every single league.
I do.
FAU man.
FAU man.
I like Devin Singletary because I like the Bills entirely. Devin Singletary is going to be good, but one problem I have with this team is the wide receivers. I personally do not like Allen Robinson at all. I don't trust Mitch. I don't trust Foles to get this man the ball. Also, they might have arguably the worst team in the NFC North.
That is true.
Not even saying that because Ed's probably watching, but also Julian Edelman. I don't know how we know Brady Edelman. You know how that story goes. Their connection was great, but I don't know how Cam's gonna do with Julian Edelman.
I think that Cam's gonna find Julian Edelman not deep, but I drafted him for the PPR value. Everyone knows Edelman, one of the best short route running receivers in the league. I did not draft him really for that touchdown volume because it's low. I will admit that it is low, but I think Edelman could just. Who else was on? What receivers are on that team really? That I just feel like he's gonna get a lot of slants, outs.
Yeah, you're right.
Not a bad flex option.
Yeah.
And I have Jarvis Landry as my backup.
Jarvis Landry, yeah. As everyone must know, last year I was ridiculed for releasing Jarvis Landry. But I mean, I don't know. He wasn't doing good 2 weeks prior. It's just I don't know what happened there. But yeah. Next, number 5 or number 5 for you,
yes, right? My number 5, Eddie, the villain of our fantasy league, so he proclaims. Kind of true, not for no reason. There's a reason for that. Sonny raped. Anyway, talking about Eddie's team.
Phone charger? Yeah.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Castro had to go get a charger. Anyway, where was I? Oh yeah, Eddie's team. Sorry about that little inconvenience right there. Tom Brady. Everyone knows Tom Brady is the GOAT. Okay, but fantasy-wise, I don't know if I see it for him. I mean, obviously he's in Tampa Bay. He's got Gronk back, Evans, Godwin. List goes on. Okay. Clyde Edwards-Helaire with the 8th pick. Chiefs offense. You know what? We're going to go into Edwards-Helaire later, okay? We're not going to do Helaire right now. David Johnson at the RB2. David Johnson, the man who was once proclaimed to turn like a boat. Proclaimed to not even be rosterable in fantasy last year by Field Yates. In Houston, Eddie did have a good point. No one's really contested him in that backfield, so he can get the workload there, some PPR value.
He also said, didn't he say that he's going to be a 2,000 all-purpose yard back this year?
Yeah, I think he did say that. And I just noticed Ed's got both of his running backs, who are heavily criticized, playing tonight. And he will be here, so we will see. Anyway,
that should be good.
Cooper Kupp. I like Cooper Kupp. Just got extended. He went off last year, just got extended. Brandon Cook's no longer there. Todd Gurley no longer there. T.Y. Hilton, I'm not that big on T.Y. Hilton. I feel like he hasn't been great like he used to be. Colts situation at quarterback.
One thing I've been seeing from insiders for the Colts, Zach Kiefer said that the favorite wide receiver in Indianapolis is T.Y., and all that they post is just practice with Phillip Rivers and T.Y., so who knows? He might be resurrected, but we never know.
Noah Fant, I think, is a tight end that could go both ways this year. That's a very, very young offense we have in Denver. Drew Lock, Fant, Judy, Cortland Sutton, all young guys. No one really knows who's going to become the forefront of that offense. Kenny Drake at the flex. Kenny Drake had a fire second half of the season last year, but I just don't know if it's really someone you could trust. I mean, looking at his game log, he really only had 2 good games last year.
Drake?
Where he rushed for over 300 yards and 6 touchdowns. But we're going to have to see if he keeps it up. Steelers D, always a great option. I think Steelers D's been top 5 in points scored for the past 4 seasons. I think that was the stat.
Speaking of Steelers, didn't Ryan Shazier retire yesterday?
Yes, he did.
That's sad. Very, very sad. Unfortunate that we can't use him in Madden anymore for his user guide lurks.
Jack Doyle, Anthony Miller, Zach Moss, Tavius Murray, Dak, Devontae Parker, DJ Chark, I do like. But right now Eddie's sitting at my number 5 spot. Who's your number 5?
My number 5 spot is Yerba Mate, actually. And the reason why I like Yerba Mate is his duo of running backs with Dalvin Cook and Joe Mixon. And I actually have a lot of faith in Amari Cooper this year, for once, because I do have Michael Gallup and CeeDee Lamb, and I got Zeke back. And I like Tyler Lockett a lot, too. When he's healthy, he's kind of like a Kenny Stills. He's really a really big asset to the offense. And I think his team is just all around good. The only question mark I have is just Tyler Higbee. I don't know if I really like Tyler Higbee or like any Rams tight end because I don't like the Rams tight ends. But I do like Juju too. I feel like he just had an off year last year, and I think that the Steelers are in a good position this year to really turn some heads, especially with an extra playoff spot.
Yeah,
everyone's fighting for it. I think Juju he's probably going to do better this year than he did last year, I would say, even with your Deontay Johnson faith.
Well, I feel like they're going to complement each other well. Anyway, we're almost at the 30-minute mark, so let's get on with it. At number 4, I have Fear Peter's Tigers. Trying to think how to put this. Okay, Sonny's team, very hit or miss, I would say. Mahomes at QB, obviously going to be good. You have, I like his stack, not stack, it's not a stack, but MT and Devontae Adams, 2 of the better, probably top 3 wide receivers in fantasy. But what can go wrong down the line for him? Todd Gurley, arthritis. James White, not going to be that lead back, PPR guy. Metcalf at flex, Ertz at tight end. Only question mark I have about this team is how far that running back tandem can take him. Let's move on to your number 4.
My number 4 is actually Ed. After further consideration, after just like looking at his team, I realized that it really was not that bad as I thought it was going to be after really going through everyone's team. Because, he does have Edwards-Helaire that we're going to talk to later about. But he does have Hilton, and his team can turn up. It's just everyone has to do their job. But I just like his team better. Some people's teams just aren't very complete, and I thought that Ed's wasn't complete that much. But I think I have faith in Ed's team. I think David Johnson, I have faith in him too, honestly. He's in a new system. Even though Bill O'Brien doesn't really like to pass the ball to the running back, and he likes to just run them down and just not do anything. Cooper Kupp was really good for me last year. Jared Goff just loves Cooper Kupp. Noah Fant might be the biggest question mark, but he was drafted really high for a reason. And Kenyon Drake can turn up. If all these players play at their highest potential, then he has a top 3 team in the league.
Moving on, number 3 for me, I have Diego, whole lot of fantasy, Lamar Jackson at QB, Alvin Kamara, and Aaron Jones. A nice stack there at running back. DJ Moore, Robert Woods, I think, is going to be a good option this year. Wide receiver 2. Jared Cook in that Saints offense. He's going to get the ball. Tyler Boyd at flex. Okay. Chargers defense, Younghoe Koo. He's got a lot of running back depth. Okay. He's got David Montgomery, Kerryon Johnson, Antonio Gibson, and Bryce Love. So I think Diego's got the depth and the RB stack to take him definitely to the playoffs this year.
For my number 3, when you were talking about Simon's team, I was actually looking at the positives that could come out of Simon's team. You had him last, right?
Yeah, I did.
I have him as number 3.
Interesting.
I like OBJ this year a lot. One of my favorite players. And Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews was I think a top 5.
Yeah, definitely
top 5 tight end in the league. And I think he fell a lot. Let me check. I think he fell way down. A lot of tight ends were just not chosen for some reason when it's very thin at that position. Let's see, homosexuals. And he has Nick Chubb, which he is probably, other than Ronald Jones, obviously, because Leonard Fournette's there, is probably one of the biggest question marks to me, because I like Marquise Hollywood Brown. But Nick Chubb has to share the backfield with Kareem Hunt, and that might be a problem. His running backs are a big problem, but, Simon's a big trade man, and maybe he'll get his way back. But I do like OBJ. Julio Jones and Russell Wilson, that combination can probably go for 70 points a week alone. And if his running backs turn up and Mark Andrews does his thing, then he'll be good.
Moving on, number 2, I have, what's his team name now? Team Barkley, named after not Saquon Barkley, but his dog, Husky Barkley, who is named after Saquon Barkley. We have Matt Ryan at QB, which I like. We have, of course, Saquon Barkley. I think this is 2nd or 3rd year in a row he's taken Saquon Barkley. Chris Carson, DeAndre Hopkins, Chris Godwin. I think that might be the 2nd best wide receiver duo. Jonnu Smith, Calvin Ridley, Harrison Buckner, Ravens defense. Nick's team, extremely well-rounded. I mean, Barkley, Carson, Hopkins, Godwin, right off the bat, has potential to maybe be the best core 4 in the league. On his bench, he's got Jonathan Taylor, Cam Akers, Ruggs, Hawkinson. He's got some depth. He's also got Sony Michel. I think Nick has one of the best well-rounded teams in the league. But Nick's problem in the past, of course, has been winning in the playoffs. Nick has had, I think he was 1 seed in 2018. Lost first round of the playoffs, or 2nd round, I don't remember. Last year, Nick was 2 seed, lost in the 2nd or 1st round.
Who, Nick?
I forget. But Nick has failed to get to a championship, regardless of having a top 2 team in the past 2 years. So we'll have to see if his team could win in the playoffs. Your number 2?
My number 2 is actually Sonny. Where did you have Sonny ranked?
I had Sonny at 4.
So, yeah, he isn't too far off from the top. Sonny's always a contender in this league. I do like James White, obviously, he was my running back 2 last year. He did good things for me. Patrick Mahomes, obviously, best player, arguably the best player in the league, regular league anyway. But I think Todd Gurley is one of the biggest sleepers this year, even though
he's got arthritis.
He's got arthritis, but I feel like when Devonta Freeman was on the team, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tavin Coleman, they were all good running backs.
Yeah.
Ito Smith was the goal line back, but I think Todd Gurley can thrive on that offense. Calvin Ridley, Julio Jones,
Yeah.
Michael Thomas and Devontae Adams, probably other than my team, has the best wide receiver core, including DK Metcalf and Zach Ertz, which a lot of people have been sleeping on him too, honestly. But I think one of the biggest ones that he got a lot of hate on was Leonard Fournette. Now, I think Leonard Fournette...
At the time, Fournette was a...
questionable pick. Very questionable.
Was he a free agent or was he still in the Jaguars?
No, it was just a question mark on what he was going to be.
Yeah.
But now it panned out. I feel like every player that goes towards Brady Way is going to do good.
Mm-hmm.
And also... One big sleeper that I feel like a lot of people didn't really try to go for was the rookies this year. My entire bench is all rookies because I'm just going for the upside on them. But he does have Jerry Jeudy, which is on the come up with the Denver Broncos, who also has Cortland Sutton, even though he's injured. I think that they have a very young team that is going to turn up this year in a very tough division, probably the toughest division. So
outside of probably NFC South.
Yeah. I don't know, but that's tough, Chiefs, Chargers. But who knows about the Chargers with Justin Herbert. But I like his team a lot. His team is really, I don't see a weakness on this team. Unless Gurley gets injured. Then that would suck. But then he has Fournette, so who knows? That's why he's on my number 2.
Moving on to my number 1 spot. I have Castro, my co-host. First pick in the draft, CMC. I'm pretty sure CMC was on the last 2 championship teams. Correct me if I'm wrong. Comment section. Aaron Rodgers at quarterback is probably the biggest concern on this roster. I feel like
Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just feel like Rodgers. I reached heavy on Rodgers last year. I think it took him the 5th round. Thank God I took Lamar Jackson in the 15th round.
You traded him though, right?
Yeah, I think I did end up trading him. Le'Veon Bell, even though Bell is on what I think is the worst team in the league.
He is.
I think he's just gonna really just there for PPR value. No one is contesting him in that backfield.
Or on the offense.
Yeah, on the offense in general. Mike Evans, who is hurt,
right.
But Mike Evans, I feel like, is always hurt and comes back from an injury. Keenan Allen, who Mike Williams is hurt, and Allen just got a major extension. So they're going to give him the ball. Travis Kelce speaks for himself.
Kill a trial.
James Conner hopefully could have a better year than he had last year. That whole Steelers offense, I think, has that chip on their shoulder after last season. Vikings defense and Seibert, who's that Cleveland kicker?
That's a Cleveland kicker because I think that they're not going to be able to score, so that's why.
Mark Ingram, Michael Gallup, Gronk, who, no one knows what Gronk's going to do. Who knows what Gronk has been doing these past 2 years?
Yeah, other than partying and
2
shit.
years, as he hasn't been on the field. Then we have the barrage of rookies, CeeDee Lamb, Jefferson, Pittman. One of them, I feel like, is going to have to hit. And then John Brown, who obviously is a viable flex option. I just feel like with CMC at the helm, this is obviously the best team on paper right now, but we'll have to see what happens.
This year I just drafted establishment of players. Like, these players are all known to be good fantasy players at one point last year. So I just hope that they can continue. But honestly, my biggest concern for my own team is CMC because last year I was scared that he wasn't going to be able to repeat. So I don't see this happening again like last year.
They made him the highest paid running back in the league.
Hopefully he turns up, but if he doesn't, I'll be happy. But my number 1 is going to be your number 2, which is Nick. which always drafts a good team. Like he told me, we had a FaceTime call today about a 30-minute FaceTime call today, just talking about tonight and the season. And I just think that he just has a very good team. Obviously, picking Saquon Barkley because he's a giant. Obviously, luckily hitting 2 years ago or last year. Remember when he
drafted Saquon at
number one, his rookie year, which turned out being good. He chose Saquon, Chris Carson, which I think is underrated for the Seahawks. He does really good, but he has fumbling problems and he gets injured a lot. DeAndre Hopkins was good last year, obviously one of the best wide receivers in the league. Now, with the new offense, which I think is probably a better offense now than he had before. Godwin, which he chose a pick before me. He chose Godwin, I chose Mike Evans. Good thing he picked Godwin. I don't really have faith in him like that, but I think he's still a really good pick. Obviously, was a top 5 receiver last year. Calvin Ridley, a very good flex, very good second option in Atlanta. And he told me today that Jonnu Smith, his tight end, is going to be his league-winning player, the tight end on the Titans, which I think makes sense, I guess. I mean, Tannehill throwing to Jonnu Smith when he can't hand the ball off. And he has Henry Ruggs, Jonathan Taylor on his bench, which he took for the same upside from my running back. I mean, from my bench, too. They can hit and they can do big. I think a lot of offensive rookies are going to do good this year.
It's a very talented rookie class. Then we have the power rankings. Now we're going to move on to our other segment. First one, we have worst first-round pick. Now, my worst first-round pick goes to Eddie with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Only thing that the reason I don't really see him worthy of a first-round pick, where was Edwards-Helaire taken? Was Eddie 6 or 7?
Yeah, he might have been. Honestly, he might have been 8th.
No, because Simon took Chubb at 8. Anyway, rookie, unproven. I think the hype around him is just because he's on the best offense in the league.
What happened to Kareem Hunt, pretty much. I think what people are trying to expect from him.
Yeah.
But I don't know. But, boomer bust.
A lot of mouths to feed in that offense. Mecole Hardman, Tyree, Kelsey, Helaire. I think Pringle is his name.
Patrick Mahomes is also doing his own thing.
Mahomes, Darrell Williams in that backfield. I forget who else. Damian Williams opted out of the season, so I think that's what really brought his ranking up a lot. Who was your first round?
First round also Edwards-Helaire. We forgot to mention that we're also in Rich's league.
The
keeper league. Fourth pick, and he chose Edwards-Helaire, which I guess, I don't know if in his head he was like, oh, if he does good, then I can keep him.
Yeah.
But, I mean, his first-round pick will be taken away anyway. Yeah. So, I mean, he's very boomer bust. Who knows? He can just be mediocre. But I don't know. I have Ed ranked 4, so I think he'll be okay.
Our next segment, we have biggest reach. My biggest reach, Kevin. Miles Sanders, 14th pick. I feel like Aaron Jones, who was picked right after, or Joe Mixon at 17 would have been a better option. Kevin is an Eagles fan. I think we talked about Miles Sanders during the power rankings already.
Yeah, it could be a good pick, but he's just not established yet, so we don't know. Right now, it's a reach. But at the end of the year, we could be just saying that he can be the best running back in the league, but we'll never know. My biggest reach was Ronald Jones. Obviously, we drafted before Fournette was acquired by the Bucs, and Ronald Jones was chosen before Leonard Fournette, which is kind of questionable to me, but Ronald Jones is going to have to share the backfield now with Fournette and Shady, so that was a big reach after the fact.
Moving on, we have the best sleeper. My best sleeper, Deontay Johnson, 90th pick in the draft from Julian. I feel like Johnson is going to have a great year. Big Ben back at the helm. Juju, I feel like is going to be taking most of the attention off of that team. They have a great O-line. Johnson was an explosive rookie who I think is going to have a great season. I think he's going to be in the slot, making a lot of those. I feel like he's that type of player where he gets a lot of those drags, those cross routes, and just kind of outruns everyone. I saw him do it against Arizona, particularly last year. Who do you have as your best sleeper?
The biggest sleeper, Austin Hooper, also by Julian, getting 2 sleeper picks. Even though he was the last pick in the 13th round, which is crazy to me because Austin Hooper was a top 5 tight end last year. And he does have to share the tight end position with David Njoku, but he did spend a long time with Baker Mayfield together in one house during quarantine. So that
they did move in together, which is why we think David Njoku has the trade at the beginning of camp.
But Austin Hooper, a big sleeper. He can do really good things for Julian, as he did good things for Kenny last year, right?
Yeah. Moving on, we have most improved this year. So this is not most improved as in from 2018 to 2019. This is who I think is going to have the biggest improvement from last season to this season. I think it's going to be Diego. Diego was 8th place last year at 4-9. I think he's going to make the playoffs. I think he's going to be the person to make that jump. And who I think is going to be the biggest regression, who's going to jump out of the playoffs, Julian. Julian took 2nd place last year, and I don't think his team's taking him to the playoffs this year. But we'll see. Who do you have?
My biggest fall-off is also Julian, and he can possibly... Last year, I feel like he snuck in and really made a run.
He did.
He snuck in and made a run. So I think if things went as planned as it should have been last year, he would be at the biggest fall-off. And it's just hard to make it, to stay at the top, you know? Yeah. He was at the championship game, so anything under that was a fall-off. Same for my biggest turnaround, Simon. He was at the very bottom, but I think he has a really good team this year, so he's going to make the playoffs, which would be a big jump for him. And that's it.
So, actually, no, real quick. We could... What would we at? 47 minutes. Real quick, we could go over the matchups. Have a nice, lengthy podcast for the first turn. First matchup, Uzumaki Clan versus Glizzy Gladiator Kevin. Again, I don't know why you would choose to name your team Glizzy Gladiator.
Other than clout.
Yeah. You know what that means, right? What you're... saying that you
about your teammates
participates in. Anyway, another reason why I think his team's just not going to be good this year. That name bias here, but I have myself winning.
What's the projected?
Yeah, I'm just gonna do. It's just gonna be pick'ems here. So, who's your pick for me, Kevin?
I was gonna pick you too, but I wanted to see what the projected numbers were. So yours projected to beat him by like 7 points. I think Zeke is going to have a day. I just don't know. A lot of his team is against very good defenses, like Melvin Gordon is just questionable. Also, I have Kevin at last, and you in the top half of the league, so I think you're going to win, obviously.
Next matchup, we have Sonny versus Diego. Now, this is a matchup that kind of hard for me to decide here. I mean, you have two teams. You have the number 1, number 2 QB. You have Sonny, who's wide receiver heavy and running back weak, and then Diego, who's running back heavy and wide receiver weak. Sonny's got the edge on tight end. I think he's also got the edge on flex. Defenses are pretty even, but looking at the matchups here, Tampa Bay. I'm gonna have to go with Sonny. I just think MT's probably gonna have a day against that Tampa Bay. I think you have Kamara, who I think will have a good game. Aaron Jones going up against a stout defense, but my pick for this week is gonna have to be Sonny.
I like Sonny too because I think James White and Cam are about to have a day together against the Dolphins.
Yeah, probably.
I know.
Obviously repping, but
not even. No, I think it would be against any team that they would have a day together, fantasy-wise, not Patriots-wise. But, I have Sonny, too.
Next, we have Yerba Mate.
Still don't know what that means.
A.K.A. Team Redemption versus Suck My Dicka. This matchup, I feel like, is going to be decided after tonight. Eddie's got both of his running backs playing. He's got Brady versus New Orleans. I think gonna go against projections here, and I'm gonna say Eddie's gonna win this one over Kenny. What do you think?
I think it does get decided today too. What you said Eddie's gonna win over Kenny?
Yeah.
I think Kenny might win. It depends how Clyde Edwards-Helaire does tonight.
Yeah.
If he does bad, then the team's losing. But if he does good, I think that's going to be how his entire season's about to be.
Yeah.
If he does good, if Edwards does good, then the team does good. If not, they're going to get killed. Because they do have Dalvin, but Dalvin is going against Green Bay. So, I don't know. And also, Amari Cooper, too.
Next, we have Cardiac Kids versus Homosexuals. What a better way to start off week 1 with a nice little rivalry. Pretty low projected game compared to the other ones.
This might be game. Actually, this is not going to be game of the league.
Eckler versus Cincy. I'm going to have to go with Julian just because I'm really not a fan of Simon's team.
I'm going to have to go with Julian too, but that's only because the Browns are facing Baltimore and they always have, those type of games. And he has Nick Chubb and Odell going against each other, along with Mark Andrews going against. It's just like the entire team is playing that day. I mean, that game. But, I think they're going to have a good. I think Julian's team might win. It's just better matchups at that point. Very close projected, though. Only 2-point differential.
Mm. And last but not least, my game of the week. The consensus, I think, number 1 and 2 ranked teams in Eddie's power rankings and mine. And Castro's, he just didn't have his self-rank. But I'm going to have to go with Castro here. You have McCaffrey versus Raiders defense, who I think is just going to be the deciding factor right there. That's really it.
I think, honestly, me and Nick's teams are very evenly matched. It's just that my tight end is better than his, even though he said Jonnu Smith is going to have a good year. But I just think that's, like, the only weakness of his team. And both of our defenses are about to probably get, like, under 5 points. But this is I was going to say last game was game of the week, but I think this is game of the week just because that we ranked and Eddie ranked the best 2. And also, I think ESPN ranked us the top 2 teams, too. And me and Nick have been talking about tonight and this weekend all week. So it can go either way, but I think I'm going to win. So
there you have it. That was our first podcast back. Looking to have a good season. I wish good luck to everybody. Hopefully nobody gets COVID. Hopefully we have a limited amount of injuries. And that's it for today.
Who do you have for tonight? Chiefs?
Chiefs. I'm gonna have to go with Chiefs. I don't think it's a question, to be honest.
I like the Chiefs too, but let's see what they can do, because I feel like the first game of the year is always a really good game.
Yeah.
Plus there might be rust, but who knows?
So there you have it. I'm your co-host, Justin Bird, with my other co-host,
Matthew Castro.
And we'll see you guys next week.
Peace.